YouTube. Today I am putting together a watercolor palette that's specifically for the Karlyne Holman course. If you've not heard of her before, she's a wonderful teacher. I came across her on her videos on Watercolor Making Your Mark course, which is available on at artistnetwork.tv. I will link to both the her page and the website's page down below. I thought it'd be a great time to go through what kind of colours she recommends, and I know how much fun it is to watch people fill watercolor palettes on fast forward mode, because I watch it all the time. So anyway, let's get started. Right, so these are the colours. This is the palette. Now this is the Magello 20 colour palette. This is actually, you can't tell, but this isn't brand new. I used to have another set of watercolours in there. I hadn't used it at all almost, so I thought I'll reuse the palette, and the paints came off beautifully and it cleaned out really nice. So if you're kind of looking for a watercolor palette that is good for maybe, you know, for one course you fill it with one color and then you go on to another course like I do, and you want to refill it with another set of colors, then this is a great palette. Let's get started with the colors. First color is Windsor Yellow. Can you see Windsor Yellow? And this is Aurelian, this is Holbein. And then a quinacridone gold. Now this is a colour that's new to me. I've heard lots of good things about it, so I'm looking forward to getting to learn to use it. It's Daniel Smith. Quinacridone burnt orange. Daniel Smith again. Windsor orange red shade. Scarlet Lake Holbein. Quinacridone Coral Daniel Smith. Permanent Alizarin Crimson by Holbein. Quinacridone Rose by Daniel Smith. Now I have Quinacridone Magenta here, but in her list she recommends Permanent Magenta. The reason why I'm using Quinacridone Magenta is A, I don't have Permanent Magenta, and B, this I have tons of, so I kind of want to get on with using them. French Ultramarine by Sennelier. Antwerp Blue by Winsor and Newton. Windsor Blue Red Shade by Winsor and Newton. Cobalt Blue by Holbein. Manganese Blue Nova by Holbein. Phthalo Green by Horadam Aquarel, Schminke basically. Raw Sienna by Holbein. Indigo by Holbein. Now she's not specific about what brand you should use, besides particular colours such as the Quinacridone Gold, Quinacridone Burnt Orange, which is unique to Daniel Smith, and obviously the Windsor colours. However, if you know a little bit about pigment, you can substitute it for other colours that you know is a good substitute. Now, before I start filling, I like to try and save money where I can, and I actually saved all the paint peels from the palette before I cleaned it off, and I know some of the colours are included in the set, so I am going to be putting these little dried dollops in there and then putting paint on top, just to, you know, it's probably a few pounds worth, but every penny counts. So the other thing is, this is just a random thing I do, and that is when the palette allows for extra space, I will always leave a space right next to the yellows, just because they get contaminated so quickly without by other colors. And also, since I had another spare spot, I am leaving a gap between the raw sienna and the indigo, and that's because the indigo is such a strong color. I can see it contaminating raw sienna all the time and just frustrating me. Let's get on with filling it. I am going to fast towards this so you don't have to watch this in real time. So that's all the colors filled. This is about usually the amount of paint I put in each well when I first start a course, because I don't know if I'm going to get on with the course. I don't know, how much paint it's going to use, so I only put a little bit in, and then if I find myself doing more and more of that course or using particular colors more and more, then I will put more paint in per well. For example, this is a palette I have been using for a color theory course, and the paint started off about this amount per well, but as you can see, the course went really well. It was fascinating. It started off like this, and as the course went on, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this course, so I'm gonna be putting more and more paint in. And just doing this at the start saves loads of paint, because I have been there where I got like a whole palette, filled with paint for a course, and then I just didn't get on with the course, or I lost interest, and then I was left with palettes that had loads of paint that was all over the place. So yeah, I usually start off with this amount. Next, I am going to do a color chart for you so you can see what all these lovely colors look like. That's the color chart finished. I did actually make a mistake, and I forgot to leave that space next to the yellow, so things are slightly bunched up this way. I'm not sure if this is gonna annoy me enough for me to redo it, or if I will just go with the flow. The colors are in the right place, which means I shouldn't find it so difficult, but we'll see. There may be another color chart coming soon. I started off, because this palette is a strange shape, you can't just, create a square color chart. What I did was, so this clear thing sits on the lid of your palette, but that you can use as an extra space for your mixing, and I figured, well, if this fits, whatever paper I cut to this shape will fit. So as you saw, I put it on a piece of paper, drew around it, cut it up, and then I just used the palettes themselves to let me know where to mark all those lines. So that's the palette finished, and all I will do now is just label these colors with the brand and the color name, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed this palette filling video, and I hope if you've never heard of Karlyne Holman before, I highly recommend her classes. I will link it down below. She is so much fun. She sews gourds and baking sheet and completely random stuff that I would have never thought of putting onto a watercolor painting. So her classes are really refreshing and invigorating, and I'm so inspired, and I can't wait to start the course using these lovely colors. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon.